everyone, welcome back to AuRoaring Radio. Today's topic is roomies, stories, and living on our own. Today I'm with Divie. Lay was unable to make it, so it'll just be us.
Yeah, hello. It's me. I see that and my ears went fluttering.
So, do you want to start out today with talking about how we got to living on our own, or do we want to talk about, like, do you want to open up with being free? Like the freedom of being alone?
I think it'd be good to talk about our journeys for sure. Would you like to start first?
Oh, yeah, I can start out with a banger.
Let's go.
Okay, so I was forced to kind of essentially be adulting at an early age that I shouldn't have to.
Mm-hmm.
I was off and on getting kicked out of my parents' house at 17, and it would get physical. She would threaten cops on me. Anyone that knows me, like, I'm a book nerd. Like, I'm the last person that you'd call the cops on. I'm not really bothering anyone. I'm playing Pokemon. So yeah, I ended up living with my friend's parents for about a year and a half. And that was a whole thing in its own. And then from there, I got a job at being a, what do you call them? A call agency, like, person.
Yeah.
And then from there, I moved into an apartment with my friends. And that was kind of my start to how I got from point A to point B. Was my mom kind of kicked me out of the nest forcefully.
Yeah. I feel that. That's a lot, though. It's brutal.
Mm-hmm.
When it's like feeling forced to have to move out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I'll definitely talk about mine a little bit. Okay. Mine was actually not forced, and so I think, like, in that aspect, I as sad as it is, I don't think I can relate to that part. Yeah. I think when it comes to being forced, it was more like I felt like I had no option in my head. And so my thing was, when I moved out on my own, it was actually right after 2020 right. And all of that stuff. So when I was applying for jobs, one right. of, like, the contacts that I got back was to work in another city, thankfully in the same state that I live in. But right. It was just, like, in a different town, like, hours away. And it was like, when I say forced, that's where it comes into play. It was like, well, to be honest, I'm not getting any other, like, people contacting back. Okay. And so I barely even got any interview callbacks. So I was like, okay, this seems like this is the only option. And, I sat down and I, like, talked to them about, like, will you, like, reimburse me for, like, cost of, like, moving and things like that? They said yes. So I also was getting, like, unemployment money at the time. And okay. So I technically had the means to be able to move over there and be okay for, like, the first year. And so that was kind of like my start and my journey. So, like I said, even though it wasn't forced because of, like, due to, like, some certain circumstances negatively happening, it was more like forced to, like, this is my only option, because my family was like, you need to get a job or do something because you can't just sit here. I'm like, but the panorama just happened. Like, what do you mean?
Yeah. Okay. So, it was kind of like pushing towards the nest.
So yeah, it was a lot. It was a lot. But I do feel pain in the sense, like, I feel bad for what you had to go through to have to move out on your own, because that's a lot to have to take in.
Yeah. Yeah, it was not easy. I mean, I'm still mad at my parents to, like, this day and age. Just because, so the reason why I got kicked out and had to move was we had a neighbor, and I needed my mother, because my car's tire went flat. So I needed my mother to take me to Walmart so I could buy a replacement tire. Had the money, had it all ready to go. I think I had like $300. I had way more than I needed, but I was always like, I just want to be prepared, like, just in case, like, I need this tire from God himself. Like, so I was going outside to the car in my PJs, like, little, like, pajamas pajama pants and like a long sleeve shirt and some flip-flops. And because it's like 11 in the morning. Well, my neighbor's wife is standing outside and she's just kind of like hands on her hips, just staring at me. And I'm looking at her like, okay, is she gonna look away? We sat there for like 3 minutes staring at each other. So I eventually was like, you know, it's a beautiful day out. Like maybe you should look at the sky and not me. Because like for me, like, why are you staring at me? You're making me uncomfortable. And she stopped staring. She like left and went and did her thing. But I told my mother, because like I was always that kid where I was like reporting to my parents like what I'm doing. Just because like can't get in trouble, can't catch any strays if they know what I did or was doing to begin with.
Yeah.
Well, she did not like that. She exploded. She's like, you're such a disrespectful punk ass kid. I didn't raise you to be like this. I'm fucking sick and tired of you. Fuck you. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, I literally just told her to look at the sky and not me. Like, I don't know why you're flipping out. When she's like, oh, so you want to talk back? And I'm like, I'm literally explaining myself. What are you talking about? So she like was like, well, we're not going anywhere. Get the fuck out of my car. And I was like, okay. So I got out of the car and I'm like, well, then I'm going back to my room then. And I'll just have my friends take me to go get the tire later then. And she's like, no, you're not going back in that house. You're not allowed to live here anymore. And I was like, what? My name is on the house, ma'am. You have my name on the electricity and the internet. Like, and I told her, I said, legally, you can't kick me out. Because she had already tried kicking me out before. We got into a fight beforehand. And I moved out for about 3 weeks. Because she had started a fight because I drank the last bit of like milk that was in the fridge that was hers. But I bought 2 other gallons of milk. Because I love to drink milk. So back then, I would just drink milk like it was like a drink. And I asked my father, I said, hey, there's not much milk left in this. What do you want to do with this? Because I want to put these other 2 gallons in. He was like, oh, you can just drink it. Like, it's okay, hun. And I was like, okay, perfect. So she comes in my room when I'm hanging out with friends on Discord, starts yelling at me, and is like, you drink my fucking milk? And she's like shaking this empty jug that was in the trash can. And I'm like, yeah, but there's 2 other gallons in there. Like, you're fine. She is like, no, like, it's about the fucking respect. And I said, Dad gave me permission. And she like did not like that. So she started cussing me out. I got blank, did not like respond. So she got mad, threw my PC at the wall, broke my mic, almost broke my computer screen, like just threw it all at the wall. I ended up leaving that night. And that was the first time we got kicked out. So I was talking to my friend's parents. I'm like, yeah, like my mom she has these explosive episodes where she just goes off on anyone and everyone. And she just wants you gone. She doesn't want to look at you. She wants you out of her house. Like, she wants to make you suffer. And they're like, well, legally she can't kick you out of the house if your like name is on the bill. And I was like, oh, okay. So we had lied to the city and told them that my birthday was sooner than what it was to get my name put on the bill, like illegally. Because the town that I lived in was known for like, you could do things under the rug at the city hall. So I put my name on the electricity. And so when she tried to kick me out that second time for like that one woman, I was like, you can't kick me out. Like, my name is on the house. And she's like, I don't care. I'll call the cops on you. Because I think at that time I had freshly turned 18. But I was off and on living on my own at 17 and a half. So that was like the last straw. I did not live with them anymore after that. And yeah, that's like the full story, like in depth. Like, I had to walk 9 miles in 112-degree weather and sandals and PJs and a long sleeve. And there was no sidewalks. I had to walk because like when you live in an old town, it's like you have the main street roads and then from there it's just the back roads. And then that leads into like the highways. So I had to walk on this back road and it was like either I walk on the road or I walk in this like grass that is as tall as me and there's all kinds of stuff in there and I didn't want to do that. So I walked on the street for 9 miles and my flip-flops burnt. They like basically were melting from the fucking heat that I ended up burning my feet for 3 months from how far I had to walk. Yes, ma'am.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's wild. Like,
I would say, like, it did not prepare me at all for moving out. Like, I didn't have a job. I had a sugar daddy. So like, and like, even then, I was never really paying for my own bills. With my sugar daddy, I was paying for my friends and then also paying my parents' bills. Because my parents would yeah, my dad would take my card, because I got a bank card, and he would take my card and basically force me to pay for either groceries or bills that he was late on, because he didn't want to upset my mother for not being able to pay the bills. And he would do this behind her back. So I feel like I had like a horrible fucking start into adulting, and that later on made the later process really hard for me.
Yeah. Just so wild.
Oh, how old were you when you moved out?
Oh yeah. So technically, like, I've already had like mild experience of like living on my own when I was going to college, and that started at like 24, I believe. I was 24, 23. When I went to college, I did have a late start. So any of you guys who do a late start, totally fine. Everything happens for a reason. I say this because when I started at 24, I was kind of low-key mad that I started so late, because I kind of wish that in my head I started with the rest of my high school classmates. But now that I think about it, I even told my family, I was like, I'm glad I went when I was older, because I had a different mindset, and I noticed that had I gone when I was younger, I feel like I wouldn't have taken it so seriously, to be honest with you.
Oh, 1,000%.
Yeah.
I feel like so, that was my struggle, was like, I was a little kid just like, surely my parents are gonna like fix this for me. Like, why would they just leave me to this?
Yeah.
And oftentimes I find like when you move out when you're older, it's like it's a better situation for you.
Yeah. I moved out. I started working after high school, and then I was like, okay, maybe this is just what I do, is just work. And then I realized, no, I really do want to go back to school. So I did, and the place that I moved was like 10 hours away from my hometown. So it was pretty much like living on my own. I did have like roommates and stuff, because you can live on campus, which is what I did to make it more easier for me. And so I did get the life of like, or the learning experience of like, how it feels when you get sick and when you gotta have to do, because I was so used to being like, can you make these appointments for me, please? And I can't do that. So it was one of those where like, okay, I gotta stop being so shy and like call to make an appointment, or go online, go here, go there. Oh, I need something. Okay, well, you gotta make the effort to go to the store and get it yourself.
I'm still bad about that.
I'm still bad about that, and I'll definitely get into more of that when I talk about it. So like that's kind of how it was for me like when I was going to college, and I got like I think like 3 or 4 years of that experience living away. And I say 3 or 4 because I did transfer from like a community college to a big university. So I did have that experience. And then when I came back home because during my last year of college, it was during Corvette. So I had to get my last year in. And so I didn't actually have like the regular graduation. We were just pretty much online for that. And then they started lifting up a lot of the like locked in home rules. So I was able to apply for work again and everything. And then going back into I kind of skipping the part of what I talked about earlier with the whole like job thing. Once I pretty much moved out there, it was I will say it was a bit scary, because at least this is something that me and my parents were talking about, was like, the difference with like college compared to like actually moving out for a job was that at least in college we knew when I was coming back home, like there was a deadline.
Yeah.
Now that I'm on my own, it was like we never knew when I was gonna be back. I think I did grow attached to my mother and my stepfather a lot.
Yeah.
And so it was good though, because my mother and I, we had moments, and we still do, but not as much as we used to. We always were at it verbally, like we couldn't be around each other for too long. So like that was a thing with us.
Like you guys just can't handle each other?
Yeah, like the way it works for us is like, I was say, so like we can handle, we all will be good for like a couple days or more, and then like all of a sudden we'll start like kind of getting mad at each other and like annoyed. Like I could do something and she'll find a reason to like be bothered, or like she'll say something and I'm like, well, you didn't even have to say it like that, and then it'll go like a back and forth.
Did it ever get violent, like physical?
That was something like when I was younger. Ever since I became like an adult, it was one of those things where we started learning to walk away. And I think it was maybe because as an adult is when my stepfather came into the picture. So I think it made things easier to not go at it. And so it helped. And then now we kind of just got used to the fact that like now it doesn't get verbal. I mean, sorry, physical. It just gets verbal. And it's even gone as far as like nowadays, it's pretty rare. Like if her and I are, like if we get annoyed or mad at each other, we don't say anything. We just get up and walk. We won't even argue. We'll just get up and walk.
That's smart.
I think it's like really rare. Yeah. Because
it always got physical with my mother and me, because I would get nonverbal. And I just would not respond. I would zone out and disassociate really, really bad. And she didn't like that. So whatever she could do to get a reaction out of it, whether it was like hitting me, slapping me, throwing my things that I care about and trying to break them, that was her method to get a reaction out of me.
Yeah. Like growing up, even if like my biological father would try and tell me like, just do this or just don't do this, you know, when you're talking with her to like try and help me, it wouldn't work, because like growing up when I was younger, and we had like arguments, it would be like this thing of like, well, okay, so you're just gonna ignore me? Like, okay, whatever. Like, and like she would get even more heated, and I'm like, what the freak you want me to say? And then I open why are you talking? And then like I didn't say anything, like, and then it would go back, and then like if I did respond.
Same.
Yeah. And then if I did respond, because I'm like, okay, so they don't want me to be quiet, because in their eyes I'm ignoring them. So if I did respond, just shut up. And I'm like, I'm trying. Oh, so now you're trying to get the last word. Just shut up. And I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah, literally. And then like it sucks because looking back at it, I can picture little me like panicking, but not trying to show that I'm panicking. And like I just I envision like tiny Ebbie being like, what do you want from me?
Yeah. Because and my dad would just tell me like, it'd be best if you just like just don't say anything, just let her talk. And I do. It doesn't work. Oh my God.
Yeah.
So like, and then it got to a point where, because like if I kept opening my mouth multiple times, well then she would raise her hand and try and slap me. And then when I got to a certain age, I started to like try to like put my hand in my face so that she wouldn't hide it. But then it got to be where I would hold her hand and push her hand out of the way. So like it came to be where, oh, so now you're trying to hurt me. And it's like, and then other people took it as in, oh, you're so brave that you would do that and disrespect your mom like that. I'm like, no, I'm just so brave enough that I know when she's gonna slap me, and I'm trying to not get slapped.
I'm just brave enough to try to protect me. Me, myself, and my peace.
Yeah,
okay, so you were more respectful than me. I got to a point, I want to say around 14, maybe a little more than that, like 15, 16, probably 15 and a half, 16. Towards the last few years of being a kid, before I was forced to adult and live on my own, I would fight like physically for because I'm like, if you're gonna put your hands on me, my hands are ready to eat for everyone, bitch. I don't care if you shit me out of your womb. You want to hit me, I'm gonna hit back harder.
Yeah.
So I like my brother would come in and like would restrain both of us. He'd push her back and like hold me back. And I'd be like, let me go. Like, I want to hurt this bitch. She just threw my computer at the wall because I wouldn't talk to her. Like, what is her issue? She's a psycho.
Yeah, dude, I know that this is kind of like on a topic of like, you know, like living like our childhood and stuff.
Yeah.
So I don't want to like say too much, but I will say like the one last thing would be like, me and my mom, our arguments sometimes would be over like some small, minute things, and it would escalate because like a good example would be like, for example, if she wanted chips, a side of chips with her sandwich at a restaurant, and they didn't bring the chips, and she would get kind of frustrated and upset, and then she wouldn't stop talking about it, and I'd be like, it's fine, it's literally just chips, it's not a big deal, it's just food, like just eat it, like it's just food, and then let them know that it's not about that, and I'm like, okay, I don't know what the freak it's about that, and like I can never talk to you, you're always never on my side, it's always an argument, and I'm like and I'm like, I'm not trying to, I will say, look, she has definitely opened my mind in the sense that sometimes I try to monitor like what I say, because I notice that even with friends, I have this habit of trying to like be like, well, let's look at the other side of the story. And that's what that's what I've always done to my mom. And my mom just wants somebody to be like, yeah, you're right.
Well, okay, that does go into another topic. But just last little mention to that, I feel like that was a developed skill set because of your past and your background. Like, you know, someone contributed to little Divie picking up that maturity and trying to be okay, let's de-stress the situation. Let's see all sides. Calm down. Yeah. There's a reason why you do that. But I guess like for me, the reason why like me moving out goes so hand in hand with my childhood, because I was literally like, as a child, being forced to leave my home. And I still have like old friends and other friends that live with their parents, and they're around my age. Some of them are older than me. Like ranging anywhere from 20 to like 33. And I kind of envy them, because I'm like, I wish I had that like support system to stay living with my parents or providers like that long, because I feel like if I would have moved out now, I would have been so much better. My like habits would have been better.
I'll say this, that like me moving out was always it's technically like due to my childhood, like as in my childhood dream, due to a lot of like my history and my past. I always tell myself I'm gonna move out when I'm 16, and then when I got older and I realized technically you can't do that when you're 16, like legally, I was like, I'm gonna move out when I'm 17, and I was like, I'm gonna move out when I'm 18.
I had that plan too. Mine was always 18 though, and technically I did move out at 18, but it was not the big grand plan that I thought it was going to be, because they hit me with a sucker punch. They surprised me. So my plan was to like go to college in like New York and basically vanish from my parents' stuff. But when I got kicked out, I wasn't able to apply to any colleges and all that jazz. So yeah.
I mean, if it helps though, like my brother, he lived on his own, and he couldn't apply for colleges either, because he had a way worse childhood than mine, and so like he couldn't apply for colleges either. He had to immediately get a job and live on his own. He lives with roommates, and they fucking fork it out there, because they're really trying really hard to try and survive with with a 1 bedroom and all this other junk. They have to share a room based off of who has to work the next day.
Oh.
Yeah. So like I feel like the idea of like I feel the idea of what you have to go through based off of what I know from a family member. But yeah, moving out. There you go. Moving out was definitely like a thing of mine, where I like told my parents, I was like, when I finally had to make the decision to come back home, I was like, I felt like I kind of almost like slapped my younger self in the face, because this was a dream of mine because when I moved out on my own, I moved into like a big city. I am a
Yeah.
small town girl, and
Yeah.
I moved into I moved into a big city, so it definitely was very different
Yeah.
for me being from small town to big city. But that was like always my dream. I told like maybe like at what like 7 or 8, I was like, I'm gonna move to the big city. I'm gonna be like awesome. I'm gonna be a boss. I'm gonna be living it up. I'm gonna be making the money. People are gonna ask me for money.
we're literally sisters. Those were like my dreams too. Like I wanted to live in the city. I wanted to live near like the city life and where everyone's different. Nobody's the same. I don't have to worry about everyone being like sticks in the mud. I will say though, the benefits of like having that freedom of being on our own, I did not miss being yelled and told when to wake up, when to do things. I really loved setting my own schedule for myself. Like that was probably the most like liberating feeling.
Yeah. Dude, okay, like the idea of freedom, let me tell you from an introvert standpoint. Like, okay, I am definitely one that like I grew up with a family that if it's a holiday, if it's an event or something coming up, it doesn't even matter how small or how big it is, you're going. And if you're like, oh, I don't want to go, I didn't ask, like you're going, and because it makes us look bad and it makes you look bad when we're gone and you need them. Like that's literally like the whole speech.
That's how my family was.
Yeah. And so like when I started living on my own, my like both my parents and the like rest of the family tree would be okay when I would say, oh, I don't have like the money to go. And they would understand more because they knew I lived by myself, so I didn't have somebody to like support me in that aspect. So it was, oh my god, the freedom of being on my own was like, oh hey, we're going to like so and so's wedding. Oh, okay, have fun. Oh, you're not going? No. No, I can't go.
Well, and for me, like, because for me, I always think like, okay, if I wasn't living here or if I wasn't here, what would you do? And I do that with my roommates all the time. Like in my head, I'm like, okay, if I wasn't here, what would you do with that situation? Why are you making it more unnecessary for me? And with parents like that, because my parents are like that. Okay, but if I wasn't here, you're going to make up some excuse for me being too busy to be here. So why can you not do that right now? Why do I have to go?
Yeah.
Because if you want, we can sit down as a team and we can come up with the lie. Maybe I'm at a spelling bee. Maybe I'm doing some charity work. Like, let's lie as a family. Why are we divided?
Yeah, I get you. Yeah. So like, I do say that there's a lot of freedom in living on your own, that you get to make your own choices on things. Even like the small stuff, you may think, oh, but that's just tiny. Trust me, it feels so liberating when even the small stuff you can go and do on your own. Like if I need to go to the grocery store, because of my anxiety and I like a whole bunch of other crap in my mental head. I can go and just order like on the app and just go. And my family is very much like, no, we're gonna get down as a family. We're gonna go shopping and No, we're not. We're not doing that. It's a fucking grocery store. Who are we impressing out here?
Even as small as like getting to decide when you eat, what you're eating, how you want it. Like even those little things. Like I loved getting to decide, okay, if I want pasta today, I can fucking get myself pasta. I don't have to like eat what they want to make.
Oh yeah. I forget about that. I roughly deal with that in the sense that like now my family has been a lot more open to me being like, if I don't like what they're gonna make or buy, I can buy it for myself. But yeah, that's like another thing too. I think that like, but minus the food thing, and maybe it's just like I said, because now they're like a lot more open to it. I think minus the food thing, everything else, I felt like it didn't have the freedom. And the where it stands the most, where I literally need freedom from, is going out. I don't like going out. I know that some people are gonna be like, oh my god, you're so weird, but like I deal with anxiety. It's the forefront of my emotion that like I'm always constantly thinking, as soon as I'm even out of my house to get mail, that everybody is watching me.
Yes.
I'll put a hoodie on and I'll look like a fucking criminal with like sweatpants and a hoodie and all black, just to go get mail, because I'm literally having in my head, everybody's looking at you. Oh my God, you look so ugly. Oh my God, why is there somebody who looks like that in my neighborhood? Like, and so imagine that times 10 when I go to the grocery store, to a restaurant, or to anything. I can't do it. I will try to push myself to do it for someone else, and I will do it. Like, if family members are like, oh, you want to go and hang out, like we just chat and stuff. So like, whenever my friends are asking me like to go to like a restaurant, like just to chit chat and stuff, you gotta tell me in advance. And like, if you tell me in advance, I will prep my brain to actually go, and it works. The anxiety is not there. I'm not worried about other people. I'm worried about the person that I am with in that moment. But you literally have to tell me like a week in advance. If you tell me the day of, or even 24 hours, it's not gonna work. It's not gonna work.
Yeah.
And I think that's like where it comes to like freedom with my family. For example, just to add like a mix of like the VTubing in there. When it comes to like streaming, it really grinds my gears, because like while we're streaming, even today with the podcast, which will be cut out, like I'm having family like coming at me, like knocking on my door, asking me to do this, asking, oh well, then I'm gonna go here. Like, don't ask me. Like, ask me ahead of time, not within hours before, or even 50 minutes when you're about to leave. Like, no, goodbye, go without me. I even had where I was gonna collab with somebody for the first week of the month. I had like a whole week of collabing, and in two of the days that I was collabing, I should have put into my brain that, oh, it's 4th of July, but I didn't. And I scheduled a collab, and my family was like, oh, literally less than 24 hours. They were like, oh, your cousins want to do like a 4th of July dinner, yada, yada, yada. I'm like, look, Mom, I have a streaming thing that I'm doing with a friend. You gotta dumb it down for your family who don't understand.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I got a streaming thing with a friend. We're recording. I can't go. I can't do it. Just come for a little bit, and then we'll leave early. And and then we'll bring you food if they don't start it. But they said they're gonna start early. I promise. I was like, then can I take my car? No, you don't need to take your car. We'll be back before the time that you have to do your thing. We were not. I ended up telling my mom, take me home now, because I didn't take my car. I was so pissed. I was so livid because they told me not to take my car. So like, the lack of freedom in that aspect, where even though I pay for my own car, I got my own shit. Nobody to be telling Div, this grown ass woman not paying for her shit. I pay for my own stuff. But I have family who like, okay, look, we all got a car for each family member that lives in the house. That means mine is the more newer one, so it's in the garage. If they don't move their freaking ass cars, I can't move my car. So when they say no, then I can't actually move my car, because I can't literally move my car. I can't take it. So just that side note, if any bitch is gonna be like,
why don't you just take your car anyway? Yeah,
like, why don't you just be an adult? I can't. So just so that it gives you an idea. But like, so I like had to whisper to my mom. I was like, please take me home. I have this collab. It's literally it's already like an hour before I have to actually start. And so my mom's like, okay, let's just go home. I'll take you very quick. So like, thankfully, like, she wasn't mean, but I'm just like, what do we tell them? Just in case they ask, we have to be on the same page.
Yeah, it's just exhausting, because like, when when you live with your parents or people that are controlling, you no longer have that benefit of like, I can do this whenever I want to. Like, you always have to be ready. Okay, they're gonna spring something unnecessary onto me. I'm keeping them in the loop, but they don't care enough to keep me in the fucking loop. So I have to adjust everything around them. And that's the most annoying part, because I had a roommate that was like kind of like your mom. I would keep them up to date with everything that I was doing streaming wise. Never would call me 10 minutes like to them. They deadass told me, they were like, I don't care if you're streaming, I don't care what you're doing, if I can't get a hold of you on your phone, that's an issue. And I was like, well, if you're calling me during my stream, I can't stop my stream to pick up. I use my phone for my VTubing. And she's like, I don't care. Like, you're gonna pick up. And I was like, I'm gonna fight you.
whoa.
But yeah,
Okay,
it's
anyway,
just
go on.
like when you live with those controlling people, whether it's like a roommate or your parents, and they're not like very like self-aware of how rude they're coming off and selfish they're being, it is the most frustrating feeling ever, because I just want to yell at them and be like, do you not see how like inconsiderate you're being?
Yeah. Like, okay, so even after the 4th of July, right? The day after, I still had another collab set with Lay, actually. And my family was like, so, and they came in right after I was done like streaming my first collab on Thursday. And they were like, yeah, they came in after my stream was done, and they were like, so there was still so much food left over, so they said that they're gonna have like another cookout tomorrow to get rid of all the other food, and they're like, and it'll be like around this time, and that's the time that I was fucking streaming with Lay, and I was like, I'm sorry, I can't go, but you guys go. Are you sure? I was like, yes, I'm sure. So like, thankfully that was like an aspect where they like weren't telling me that I had to do it, but I was just like, ugh.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, I think when it comes to like VTubing and like the freedom, I say that in my opinion, to be a VTuber in a way that you can do whatever you want, whenever you want, it's best to live on your own, in my opinion, and also conveniently at a good distance away from family.
Yeah. Literally.
Where you could lie and be like, oh, I can't, I'm busy that day doing some work.
Yeah, I feel like content creation needs that.
Like I feel like I don't get as much done in my day when it comes to like my VTuber stuff. I don't get as much done, I feel, than what I was when I was living on my own, because I not only like, I don't always go everywhere or somewhere, but like even when we're just at home, I feel like the way they act and the way they talk to me, it's like I have an obligation to be around their presence, because like sometimes my mom will be like, oh, are you leaving? Oh, I thought we were gonna watch a movie, I thought we were gonna hang out together.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, I'm just kidding, I won't stream then. So like
I
literally yeah, and so I'm just like, okay, I'll just fucking move my scheduling time later, and now all of my scheduling time is later because of it.
Your mom sounds like my ex-roommate. Like big time. Well, and like my parents were like that too. Okay, so like the whole like oh, do I need to bring my car because like I have this planned at this time, and then the whole like, no, we'll be back in time. My mother was the same way. She would always promise me, no, it's fine, we'll be back, like don't worry, I don't know why you worry so much, like we're gonna be back in time. And I'd be like, well, we've done this rodeo before, and every time we're late. My parents were never time-oriented people. They got there when they got there. They'd leave last minute.
Same.
And I think that's why I'm so anal about being time-oriented when you plan collabs or you plan things out or you plan an interview or you plan anything time and you have a time fucking frame. I am so anal because my parents were never, and it'd make me embarrassed to know I'm the people that's late. I'm with this group of people that did not give a fuck about your time, and they showed up whenever they wanted. And I always felt so guilty.
Yeah. That's the same. Okay, well, my reason of being early is due to my anxiety. I grew up with, whenever I was with my family who were late, I hated when people would give me the eyes and stare like
exactly.
Like I was the problem.
And it's silly because it's like you're the kid, so like obviously you're not to blame. But sometimes your parents will make excuses, be like, oh, like Ebby took so long getting up, and I'm like, bitch, what? I was ready.
Yeah.
And then everyone's looking at me like I'm an irresponsible child now, and I'm like, dude, this is your fault.
Yeah. I say it's definitely crazy, and living on your own, as much as like there's so much freedom, which I enjoy, I feel like sometimes though too, like I feel like you're never really prepared for living on your own, because like for me, I feel like thankfully, in my case, it was like, okay, I'm getting the support to move out, mostly because like my parents needed me to get a job. They didn't want me to be sitting around. And at the time, they didn't understand VTubing. Now it's so funny that they're so open to it because I have a job. It's crazy.
Mhm. I think it's
Go
that
ahead,
whole
go ahead.
they just want you to be like, I feel like parents have that like fear of like, is my child doing a job that can provide for them? Am I gonna have to worry about when I'm gone? Are they're taken care of? Like their job takes care of them. And I think that's why like because my parents tried to like get me into like being a lawyer and like a doctor and stuff, and I was like, I don't want to do that. But like, so then they're thinking money, 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 success. And I feel like that's a lot of things that these parents struggle with is we're now in an era where you can do this and you can be successful and it can pay the bills. You just have to put in the time, the effort, and the waiting game. But they don't see it that way. They hear, oh, so you're gambling. You're taking a risk.
Yeah. So like it was interesting because like they motivated me to move out and everything. And when I was there, this aspect of like feeling like not prepared came from my mental health. I know that like the people around me that I made a relationship with at work, the people that actually stayed and were very happy and say like mentally successful, not physically, but mentally successful, were the ones who actually had I was gonna say so I noticed that like the mental success came from those who like had a partner that they lived with or a roommate. The ones that were living on their own, like myself, and there was a handful of us, like had this whole thing of like, I just want to go back home. It's hard. Like, we didn't have the money to be able to do certain things. Like my job had this like once a month, like let's all go out as a team. And that was either like to a bar or to go to like some kind of like little, I don't know, some kind of bonding thing that we could do. Cause like one of them had like this bike ride around the fucking city area, you know, or around the lake, etc. Like it wasn't that like it didn't want to go. Half of it was, but the other half was mostly just like, you know, we didn't have the money. Like whatever money we did make, because we were living in a bigger city, it was like, well, I need to hold me out for like the essentials. I always made sure I paid my bills on time, so like that was never an issue. Like I never felt like I was going to be like homeless or carless, but I honestly did struggle with like if I knew like when I was gonna get a meal, because I kind of was like would like hoard my money because I was afraid that I would be broke before my next paycheck. So like sometimes like when it came to like food, I just tried to like, okay, let me skinny girl it. Let me eat like a few little. I even bought like juices like that were already prepped and made, and I would drink those instead of actually eating food, just to kind of conserve more like food and money for myself. I will say I was a lot nicer looking when I first started my first year. And so like like it, no, like I said, nobody prepares you for that. I remember having a crying session my first year in the shower. I don't know, I don't want to get into too much detail because, like, you know, it involved a lover.
I getcha.
And I had a moment where, like, it was everything put together, living on my own. I took a shower and I just dropped down to my knees and I started crying. And it was one of those things that I kind of just wish that, like, in that moment, I told my family, I was like, I kind of wish I just had somebody here with me physically to kind of talk about my problems. Because even though like I had my family that I could call, it just didn't feel the same.
It's not the same.
Because sometimes I would think about it before I even called them anyways. Whereas in person, even today, like my parents know if I want to say something to them because they can see it in my face. I'm not good at hiding my emotions. And so they like would know, and they're like, just tell me like what's going on. And so I did tell them, I was like, I just think that like living on my own, I think it's a little bit hard for me. And I noticed that I would rant a lot more to my family. Like I would just yap away because I had nobody to talk to. I only had like my dog and my cat, and I'm not sitting there talking to them. So I think in that aspect, when it comes to living like away, I think that you really just sometimes don't feel like fully prepared. So I think that like anybody who's listening and like you want to move out on your own, if you feel like you can mentally do it, because everybody's different, right? Like kudos to you. But if you know that you already struggle with like things like anxiety and being out in the world and stuff like that, and you're an introvert, I definitely do say that like prepare yourself for those mental blocks and those mental, like sometimes your mental state just kind of going sideways, and try and find something that you can do that makes you happy. I noticed that like the times that I wouldn't stream or that I wouldn't draw were the times that I would be there crying my tears out and thinking all negative thoughts. And so the VTubing and the like finding a hobby was what actually made me a lot happier.
Yeah.
In my opinion, as well as pets do make a load of a difference if you're living on your own, because it gives you a sense of purpose. When I would come home my first year, I just would come home to me, and it was kind of mentally, like, I don't know, to me kind of sad.
Yeah. Well, and to add to your, like, you know, if you're mentally prepared for that, and if you're an introvert and you're already struggling with your like mental and you're moving out, find other fucking introverts. Like, if you make friends with other introverts, because growing up, like, I like how you struggled with going out and feeling like everyone's watching you. That was me. But if I was with other introverted friends, it kind of helped me, because I'm like, okay, we're all a bunch of freaks, so like I'm rolling with the freaks right now.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, there's just something comforting about being around other introverts, because you all know that you're uncomfortable. And it's like, not to be like, to sound harsh towards myself, but I don't care enough about myself to speak up for my own comfort. I'll just deal with it. But if I'm with other introverts that have the same boundaries as me, I care more for my friends and their comfort, that if someone's being weird or something's making us uncomfortable, I can get us out of there, or speak up for the group and be like, hey, go away. So I think it's best to, like, if you are looking for roommates or you want to just move out and be away from your parents, find people that are like similar to you, and the aspects of like, they're not gonna like, because if you have a roommate that constantly wants to go out and you're like an introvert and you don't want to go out, it's gonna be kind of like how Div has the issue with their mother and like all that planning. I have that issue with the roommate because they were so extroverted and I was so introverted.
Yeah. I agree. Find some introverts. It's rare, but you can probably find like an extrovert, but like I said, it's rare, that will understand you, but still actually push you to want to go out. Because I only had one friend who was like that. Everybody else that I run with were also introverts.
Yeah.
But they were at my work because I didn't go out by myself.
Perfect.
Yeah. So like, yeah, I also want to talk about like when we were saying earlier, and you can definitely start first, but like I do want to talk about like the whole like money, because I did bring that up earlier. Like when living on your own, you genuinely feel like like you kind of have to like hoard whatever money you have. And I'll let you speak first, because I did speak for a while, so I want to give you that chance.
Okay, I got you. So I'm the same way as you. You will never catch me not having my rent paid and my phone bill paid. My car, maybe, because I didn't buy that car. I don't want that car. So the car is paid off, but it only had to be given to me because somebody took my car, a family member stole it while I was asleep, and they totaled my car. So they bought me a replacement car, but it's a sports car, so the insurance for it costs way more than I feel like I should have to pay. I feel like that was really inconsiderate to buy me something that is gonna cost me more money in the long run, and I'm not even into sports cars. So that is the one bill that I'll pay it whenever the fuck I need to drive. But I'm the same way as you. Like, there are times I'll make sure all my bills are paid, but if somebody wants to collab or I want to eat, I'm like, okay, what's the cheapest I can go? Like, I got to make sure that I have something left over just in case I don't make enough for the next month, just to cover these fucking bills or this medication or whatever I need, the essentials. Because like, there's no one else for me to fall back on. I am my own best friend in this fucking adulting. So I have to make sure everything is planned to a T and that it's all paid on time.
Yeah. Agreed. Because even like if you have supportive family, like my family is still supportive.
Mm-hmm.
They even told me like once you're on your own, like you can't be like we can help you, like give you advice, but like we're not physically there to understand like what you're going through, and we can't help you like 100% like you probably are wanting us to do. So like just know that. And I'm like, okay, I know. And I'd still call them, but like it still wouldn't help. So like sometimes it's like, okay, I would get like we would get into an argument because it's like it was frustrating me because they couldn't help me, like they said, couldn't help me exactly how I needed them or how I wanted them, or they didn't understand my situation as well as I would like them to because they weren't there. And so like I agree that like, yeah, you're kind of on your own, Eve, like I said, even if you have a supported like family close by or like there for you like emotionally. And yeah, like when I was on my own, I will say that like I felt like I had to hoard my money all the time to the point that like, and I'll bring this topic up because it's been coming up for myself. I've been bringing it up like a fucking word vomit. But my equipment that I use for streaming needs to be updated. It's already been like years. And so I have like told myself when I was like on my own, I only got one freaking thing that I updated. And that was because I was so disgusted with the way the quality was, which was my mic, that I got a new mic. It's not perfect. Yeah, honestly, it's not perfect. My mic quality, but like I needed to get something to update it because I did hate my mic quality. And
yes,
but I didn't upgrade my other like equipment. Did I have some like maybe little money to like be able to squeeze in? Probably, but my bitch ass would DoorDash my food most of the time because I also didn't want to cook for myself. So the rest of that is the rest of the money, the rest of that money, because I'm an introvert, goes to door dashing or ordering online. So and that's more expensive.
Yeah. Well, and
but yeah,
okay, that's probably the worst mistake I have. Now that you mentioned that, like I am pretty responsible with my money, but when I want to order food, I'd rather or when I want to eat, I'd rather order food than make it.
Yeah, that was my thing when I was by myself. With that, I'd rather order in than make it myself. I've noticed that. I noticed that living on my own, when it came to food, I'm so fucking lazy. I don't want to be in the kitchen. I'm sorry, but I don't. And the only time I want to be in the kitchen is to make breakfast because I love breakfast. Breakfast is my life.
The only breakfast item I like is like omelets, like eggs, cheese, sausage, biscuits, and gravy. Other than that, I'm not a big fan of like pancakes or waffles.
Oh my god, dude, breakfast. Oh my god, you got eggs Benedict. You got waffles. You got pancakes. You got fucking I was like chicken and waffles. That's the best thing. Like it's savory and sweet at the same time. It's so delicious. I could sit and talk about breakfast with somebody all day. I'm not even lying to you. I love breakfast in different types of ways.
Breakfast podcast?
Yeah! Oh my god, please. I will talk about different types of it.
Because I'm not a fan of breakfast.
No, you'll be there as the pretty face to look at. But yeah, so like other than that, like yeah, I noticed that I'm like hella lazy when it came to cooking for myself.
Do you have any like horror stories with your roommates? Because I have quite a few. But that's just because I had a really bad ex-roommate.
Yeah, okay. So remember, my only roommate experience was when I was in college. So, but I could still definitely talk about that. Yeah. I will say, like, do you want me to start first?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so as far as like horror stories, I think the one that I had, like something that I had an issue with was somebody that originally we started out as good like roommate friends, like three out of the four of us, and one of them ended up being where we started to like kind of distance ourselves from that one. And let me explain. So when I had my last roommates before the panorama hit, I actually made a really good relationship with those roommates. We were the type that when we were in a good mood or when we came home, we would sit in the living room together and like we would do our homework or a project or an activity.
That's cute.
Yeah, like we actually made the effort to try and make our experience away from home like the best that we could. But one of the girls, she had this thing, which I hate this in people. I really do. And maybe I do this sometimes because sometimes I'll catch myself doing it to my mom specifically. But we won't talk about it. But I hate when people like use manipulation tactics to like get somebody to do what they want. So for example, this specific roommate, she would rant and vent about one roommate. It was, okay, let me explain, let me backtrack so that you don't get confused about roommate. So roommate 1 was the roommate that her room was right next to mine. Roommate 2 was the one that was across from roommate 1. And roommate 4, we hardly saw that bitch. You would think she would fucking be Casper the fucking ghost. And her room was right across from mine.
I see.
Yeah, it was like a 4. It was shaped like an H. And then you had the living room somewhere in the front. And so roommate number 2, who lived across from roommate number 1, she would do like, for example, roommate number 1 one time was going to take a shower. Well, roommate 2 wanted to go get something from her car. And I'm the one talking to her. She's like, oh, I need to go get this from the car. And I was like, just go get it. She's like, no, I don't want to get it by myself. It's like all the way out in the parking lot. And she was like, roommate 1, can you go with me? And she's like, no, I'm literally undressed already and I'm about to take a shower. She's like, just go with me right now. It'll be like real quick and you'll come back. No, like I'm going. And I'm like, don't do it, girl. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. Because where she was going to take a shower, the bathroom was like literally right outside of my dorm, my room. And so I literally just went, I was like, don't do it, girl, don't do it. She's like, please, I don't want to go by myself, and I know it's in my car. It won't be too long. We'll just go and get it. Please, I don't want to go by myself. Please don't make me go. And she kept bugging, bro. And the audacity to not even ask me, who I wasn't even taking a shower. I was fully clothed. I was available. She didn't bother to fucking ask me. And so she's like, okay, hold on. I was like, bruh. And she's like, look, it'll make her shut up. You go take a shower first, and then I'll just take a shower after you. She's like, but I just want her to shut up because she's not going to stop bugging, and she's not leaving me alone. Yeah. I was like, okay. And then it even turned into stuff where roommate number 2 would start ranting and venting to me about roommate number 1 and all this stuff, like saying how she doesn't like how she's sleeping around with other guys and that it's not good for her. But this bitch was going around and sleeping with other guys that weren't, which wasn't good for her either.
Damn.
And she was like going psycho, saying, she was like telling us, yeah, well, like he's white and he's rich. And so that means that if I have a baby with him, like literally like just trying to say that she was basically going to try and tie him down. She's like, maybe his family will give me money and they'll accept me. And we're like, and you're saying that roommate number 1 has an issue? Oh my god. And then she started having this one guy that she made friends with on campus hang around with her. And this guy, not white, he was Hispanic, and he liked her because she was a pretty Hispanic. And and also, mind you, roommate number 1 was fucking white, by the way, and roommate number 2 was Hispanic, and I'm actually a mixed. And so to have roommate number 1 hear her say something about like the white guy that she was kind of into but not into and wanted his money just because she thought he had money because he was white, it made roommate number 1 uncomfortable to have to hear when she would say, oh yeah, because he's white and like he probably comes from money, etc. Made her uncomfortable. So yeah. Going back to the second guy. So then she started hanging out with the second guy who kept coming to our dorm like very frequently because he liked her. He was a Hispanic boy and he was cute. He was a Hispanic boy into a cute little Hispanic girl. And she didn't want anything to do with him. She would flirt with him. She would lay her head on his lap. She would lay her legs on his lap. He was in her room constantly. And they weren't doing anything because she said that he was ugly because he's Hispanic and he's not white. Yeah. I'm not lying to you.
She's into white men.
Yeah, she's only specifically into white men.
Well, okay, to backtrack where you're talking about like the shower scene, it gave me flashbacks to my ex-roommate.
Yeah.
We'll call her like M, I guess. Basically, M and me were watching a show called Hip Hop Love in Atlanta. And I believe one of the dogs had peed on the couch or something happened. There was like an accident. So she got out the steam cleaner, right? And she was going to clean it. Well, she did something. She ended up knocking over the steam cleaner onto the couch. Or, no, not onto the couch. Sorry, onto the floor. So it's just the dirty water spilled all over the floor. And she's yelling at, we'll call them B. Emma's yelling at B, like, get the fuck in here. I need you to clean this up. And I'm sitting on the couch like, why are you yelling at B? Like, I'm right here. And I told him that. Em lost her shit. She's like, I don't care. I'm fucking talking to B. Like, she needs to get the fuck in here. She needs to do it when I say to. And I'm like, she has her headset on. She's playing a game. Like, she's taking forever because she can't hear you. She literally can't hear you. And you're the one who spilled that. So why does she need to come in and clean up your mess? And so she didn't like that. And we went for a car ride a few days later after that incident because B ended up coming in there and helping clean it up because like they were dating, they were girlfriends. And she eventually got around to it and she was like M was scolding B when they got to their room later on. Well, me and M go for a ride and M is scolding me and is like, just so you know, if you ever come between me and her again and you try to take her side, I will be kicking you out. And I was like, for what? You're mad that I told you like I was there. I could have gotten up and gotten something to help you clean it. You didn't need to like make a situation out of nothing and yell at B to come and help you when I'm here and you spilled it. It's your mess, you fucking baby.
Yeah. I feel like that at this point there's always that one roommate that forces everybody to do something for when they want it and how they want it, etc.
Yeah.
Like, even though that's the one thing I can remember, I do also remember because I remember telling roommate number one how like I would always vent to roommate number one that it pissed me off how she would make roommate number two would make roommate number one do shit.
It's like they got off on being an inconvenience. They wanted maybe it's a power thing. They want to see if they can inconvenience you and you'll listen.
Yeah, probably, honestly, because like something that I started realizing was that slowly but surely roommate number two stopped asking me, and it was around the time of like the whole shower thing that I'm mentioning, like the shower story. Like they stopped asking me when I was available, and I think they did that because they know, oh, I can't make them do something if they don't want to, but I can make the other roommate do it. Like they'll do it if I keep bugging them and asking them, which is why they kept bugging them and asking them. But like I told roommate number one, like I started getting to a point where a little bit before our friendship like fizzled out with roommate number two, I would tell roommate number one how bad I hated the fact that like how they were treating her. And like I never told roommate number one like anything that roommate number two told me, because technically roommate number two trusted me with those secrets. So I never told roommate number one. But I just told roommate number one, like, just how I felt about, like, what she did know, and how it bothered me, like, how they were treating her, and stuff like that. And so, it was a whole thing. And thankfully to me, they ended up, they were only there for one semester because something happened, and I think they either weren't paying their bill, for like living on there, which they were supposed to have been paying, or something. It was something with money, but from my understanding, her parents also came from money. But I could be wrong. But the way she came across was like that, because she never worked like me and the other girl did, and she would always have money. So I'm not too sure about that. So she apparently. Oh, I think what it was is now I remember now that I'm getting to it. It was her grades. She had to keep a certain GPA, and she did it because, not to be mean to you, but what she was doing was not only was she hoeing around with guys, or the specific guy that she was with, but she would sometimes tell us that she didn't feel like going to school that day. She just wanted to be in her bed. And I don't know what the fuck was her deal, but I'm like, honey, you're not here for fun. You're here for school. The only way you can live here is as long as you have a certain GPA. Are you kidding me? So they kicked her out, and she only had one semester. Like, it was her first semester.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
I will say, if M and B trusted me with something, I wouldn't tell the other one, but I was kind of the mediator. I would try to fix things and be like, okay, well, I feel like, in my own opinion, you're doing this a little too much to so and so. Is there any way that you, and like, I'm sure M felt like I was always taking B's side. Not to be biased, but B is an introvert. I still live with B. I still love B. B is introverted like me. We don't really bother each other. We let each other do whatever we want because we're like, girl, that's your personal space. That's your personal time. That's what you need. That's what you want. Like, you deserve that. Go for it.
Mm-hmm.
And was not like that. And was like controlling, wanted to make us do everything. So I would tell M, I'm like, well, I feel like, you know, if I was B and I was in B's situation, I feel like me and B are a lot similar to like not wanting to do certain things. This is how that would make me feel. And I'd have to explain things to M and be like, that's how you're coming off, sweetie. Like, dial it back. So
yeah. I'll say that like I only ever talked to roommate 1 when I felt like I felt concerned. Because like my only concern was just that like when they were bringing guys over constantly, and they were never like that before, because before they started bringing guys around, they were in a committed relationship for like 5 years or 4 years with the boy that they were with, until the boy that they were with decided, now that they're in college, we're gonna like maybe take a break. And so it did something to her mental, and she started just like guys left and right was like bringing them over and having sex, and then they would leave the next day, which, like I said, I don't care that they slept. It was more like I felt like I was worried, like, you know, I was like, are you okay, like, you know. And I made sure like I hung out with them. They liked to paint, so we would paint together. You know, we try to do activities together that we can do, and that's the only time I would ever mention it. But the other bitch would like to do it in a way that like, well, like, you know, you're kind of whoring around and that's not good, and it looks kind of bad on you and stuff like that. And I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna say that. And whereas the other girl, even though she was saying that, making her feel bad, making like roommate number 1 feel bad, roommate number 2 was like with these guys and lingering, like having guys linger as like so like she would have these guys like lingering around our fucking dorm, our, you know, like our apartment dorm, because we lived in like an apartment style. And they would also, because they would make friends with us, they would fucking ask us about her, and like it made us feel bad. And so it was like a whole mess. And then she got mad at us because we had told them the truth, that like, oh well, like she's really not into you, to be honest. And you know, like that's so all we ever said.
Okay, so funny enough, I have someone today in the VTubing field that doesn't like me because I was honest about that. And they don't like me simply for the fact that I told somebody that they wanted. I think it's a power trip thing. And because you mess with their power trip, you're public enemy number 1, because you're making it where they can't get away with doing what they want to do. And this girl would like to keep men around and wrap them around her finger and do whatever she wanted. And I told them, I'm like, that seems like something, like I've seen that behavior before. Like, I'm telling you right now, like, you're just being used. You're getting the wrong idea. Don't worry about it. And so sure enough, they'd stop hanging out as much. And they would only hang out because the guy was hitting her up. She didn't really care. She could go about her day and do whatever she wanted. You were like the last thing on her mind. She had plenty of people to hang out with. Well, once I started hanging out with that guy and we became friends, he started to see like, oh, okay, this is an equal friendship. You're putting an effort to hang out with me too. She's not doing that. So I don't even think we are friends. I'm like, exactly. Like, I'm telling you, like, she doesn't have feelings for you, but that's okay. And so because I fucked with that, she hates me. She goes around telling people that I'm a slut and that I'm easy access and that that I'm a bitch. And I'm like, you don't even know me. We've never been friends. How do you know that?
Yeah. And so it's like thankfully, like, she didn't do that to us, but she did get mad for like a few days, because this was around the time that she had to get her stuff and leave. She went home. She went home for like the holiday, and she got the email stating that she had to be out by a certain time because, you know, her GPA was low. It didn't meet the requirements that she was told she was supposed to have met.
So they only could go out because like at the end of the semester, Did they just let her stay knowing for that
Well,
semester?
no. So she had already told us ahead of time that she had already gotten the letter. So like you have to wait until like after the exams, because that'll determine on your GPA and once the grades are in, and the grades don't come in until I think like the week after
Okay,
your
I
finals and
figured.
everything are due.
Okay. I figured it was like you had to maintain that GPA all year round, not like, okay, I get you. 'Cause I was
Yeah,
like,
because
I was like, that kind of
college is like
feels
semester
weird.
by semester. It's not a yearly thing. College is like semester by semester. So like
Yeah, well,
even
that's what
I was always told that like I had to keep a certain GPA and I had to keep good standing
yeah,
GPA in order to even live on campus or even go to that school. And it also depended, like you were even on a stricter rule, because I
yeah.
had this at the beginning. You were on a stricter rule if the year before was bad, like you came in with a bad GPA, but
Oh,
they're trying to give you an opportunity and a chance to pick it up. Because when
yeah.
I did go to college, like originally I went to a community college for one semester right after high school, and I kind of messed up my GPA, but that's what still was in my history books. So when I did try to go to a university and transfer, years later they still had the grades, and they were like, well, you're accepted, but conditionally accepted. And it was like, and that means your GPA needs to keep a certain thing. So I think they already knew that. They just chose to like not care about like school, because they were so much into going like this bitch was hardly ever home because she was going out, and if she was home, this bitch was asleep. And I know because sometimes her door was open, and if it wasn't open, her door was closed and you could hear her. So like we knew she wasn't going to school like she was supposed to be. So
Yeah.
she was literally freaking playing basically Russian roulette with her school life. So
Oh
like
my
we knew.
God.
Yeah. So like okay, so like going back to the original story, like she got mad because me and roommate one told this guy that we made really good friends with, who liked her at the time, but she didn't like him.
Yeah.
Hey,
Is this
look, keep
the
asking.
Mexican boy?
Yeah. We were like, look, we understand that you like her, and we know, like, etc. We're not saying that you don't have to be hanging out with her, but we just wanted to like warn you that like she doesn't like you, and she's kind of just leading you on, and she likes somebody else. But
Right.
he obviously told her, and she messaged me in the group chat with the other roommate, getting mad at both of us, saying, why did you do that? And we're like, because you told us you don't like
Well,
him
and I
multiple
don't think those
times.
people understand, like, just because you're lying, if you have me around these people and you haven't told me the lie, or you haven't kept me into the lie, or you didn't tell me that you wanted me to lie for you, if so and so comes up to me and I'm bombarded with the reality of, oh, this person likes you, I know you don't like them, and you've never spoken to me about me needing to lie for you or keep this story going for you, I'm now in shock, like, oh fuck, what do I say to this person? Because like I don't want them to waste their time sitting here thinking they have a chance when they're being led on. Like, I'm not gonna lie for you. You should have told the truth.
Well, that and a lot of the guys that she was talking to that were like that she was leading on, they lived around our like apartment complex. Like one of them literally lived below us. He literally lived below us, and he would like text us because he also got our number too and was trying to be friends with us to like, I guess maybe hopefully get a shot with her. And like it didn't work because she didn't like him, because she's like, nah, he's too scrawny for me, and yada yada. And I'm like, bruh. And so like we made friends with him, and it was so sad because he would be like, oh, like, do you guys want to go out and do this? And then he felt even worse because he got kicked out of the fucking group chat. And he was like, why did I get kicked out? And we're like, oh my god.
Oh no.
So like I think what really like bothered us was like the mere fact that like she was having these guys that she was leading on in our lives. Like she was bringing them into our life,
which makes it messier and harder.
Yeah, the other girl never brought them into our life ever. She didn't even let us say hi to them. She would immediately get that man into her room.
My roomie, she started dating this girl one time, and I didn't know that they were dating yet. And they had been dating, I think, for a month or two, and I hadn't even seen the girl because I was like, it's not that she was like keeping her out of my life, but I was like, okay, if I don't think she's serious, like if she's not moving in, I don't need to meet her. Like, So, and there was one day I woke up to go pee, and I just see this little short girl like run. She sprints for the door, and she looks at me as she's closing the door to my front door. I'm just looking at her like, hi, bye. I'm gonna go pee now. Because she was so awkward about it, and I was like, oh, I guess we both weren't wanting to see each other. Okay.
Yeah, that's how she was. She'd be pretty much like, okay, like the door would knock, and she'd be like, don't answer it, it's fine.
Don't answer it, it's fine.
And because her door, we had two ways of entrance.
Yeah.
We had a front door and a back door, and so like because hers was closer to the back door, she fucking grabbed him and like raced back into her room because it was like literally right there. And then in the morning they would go pee, like the guy, and then they would leave.
Oh my god, I prefer that though. But
yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Go ahead.
Oh no, you can finish.
No, I was gonna say, that's what I'm saying. Like, I'd rather that they like aren't in our lives unless like they're meant as friends, rather than some type of lead on, knowing that you know that they like you and leading them on, and then they're in the rest of our lives, and we're considering them as friends now to the point that like we feel shitty and stuff like that.
Exactly, because respectfully, like I may be your friend, but I don't want to be involved in your messy work. If it's not a forever home, I don't need to meet the charity work.
Yeah, I love how you put that like that.
But thank you. But I think we've gotten in quite a bit. Do you want to start wrapping up about like maybe some tips to adulting and being on your own, making sure you pick the right situations for yourself?
Yeah. I think like knowing, so tip wise, I'll try and keep like, I won't say everything so that you also have some stuff to say.
Okay.
For both roommate and alone, I would say prepare to living on your own, your mental state and finding stuff that you can do that will keep you occupied and your spirits happy. When with a roommate, find roommates that I think that you know that you can vibe with. If you're already seeing the signs, and I say meet up with them first in case you don't know them.
Exactly.
You know, I didn't know my roommates at first, so I was going in blind. Just make sure that you feel the vibes. Like, take them out on a date to like see, like, is this something that I can live with? You know, check around the house, like, are they clean? Is that something that's going to get to me? You know, things like that. Like, be mindful of like your surroundings. And then the last thing is, living with family can be hard. I will say, depending on your relationship with your family, and for some of us it's good, some of us it's not. Know that like sometimes you need to plan ahead when you're a VTuber on how you're streaming and when you're streaming, because sometimes they will pop in and they can reveal some personal information that you're probably not comfortable with. True. As well as stop you from streaming when you need to stream. So that would be like all my tips. So take that down because I forgot already.
I guess lastly for me, I would say when you do move out on your own, make sure you have all the documents you need when you have to plan out doctor's appointments or moving into places. Like, you need to get all those things from whoever has them. Make sure that you have them, because that is the biggest step to adulting. Make sure that you're ready to be organized, because you have to plan things and you have to not be afraid to go and do them. And then something that I struggle with, even if it's hard and the day feels like shit and you just want to quit that fucking job, you cannot quit. You no longer have that luxury. And that is something that I fucked up on and I struggled with in the past. I would just let the universe take me and envelop me, and wherever it took me, it took me. And I do wish that I told past me to just suck it up, because you are now your own lifeline. There is no second chance. And if you do get a second chance, you better not fuck that one up, because eventually you will hit rock bottom. So you got to keep going. And I think that's about it. I think that's all the tips I would have to give.
Yeah, I'll say, like, guys, we can talk and rant about this all day, because we do this to each other. We do talk about our lives living on our own. So we do love this topic. So please feel free to comment down below if there was anything that you resonated with, or like if you had like any stories that maybe we didn't like mention but like you had, because like we would love to hear some people's stories, even if like it's outlandish and wild. I still would love to read them.
Yeah, you know, maybe in the future, if enough people give us their own stories or commentary, we can do a video where we react to it.
Oh my god, that'd be so good.
Yeah,
I'd
that could be
love to.
fun.
Yeah.
But
But
yeah,
yeah.
you
Other
wanna
than that, yeah.
you
You want
wanna
me
you
to do
wanna
it?
send us
Can I do
out?
it? Can I do
Yeah,
it?
yeah,
Can I
yeah.
do it? Yeah. Okay. Okay. If you enjoyed this video and you want to see more of these videos, please like, comment, and subscribe and share with your besties. And we'll see you on the next one. Bye bye.
Bye. Thank you.